Wow, AI, chatbot, Bard, they've all hit the news cycle in a big way, and they've got people excited. They have people worried. It's truly a disruptive technology. And we wanted to give you guys today a chance to look at what's happening there and to evaluate how you can proact rather than react to AI and really use your agility to manifest in a way that supports your organization. So I'm going to turn it over to Cliff.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. So we're kind of in a little bit of an unusual company. We work in the space of agility, but we don't use Agile frameworks per se. A lot of the ideas that we have are informed by the Agile 2 work, which was a very in-depth study of actual agility. And we do have clients in the IT space, but a lot of our clients are not. They're engineering companies or medical research, working with scientists. So, real agility is more behavioral and about styles of leadership and making sure people have the expertise in place when they need it and that good decisions are made quickly. So let's get into the topic. So I think everyone can pretty much agree that recently everyone now has heard of ChatGPT and GPT-3 and 4 and so on. But AI has been around for a long time. And so what happened? And what happened was very predictable. I mean, not predictable to the moment, but predictable in that it was inevitable. AI, like most technology, has seen jumps. And the arc is very clear of where it's going. But it happens through jumps, where there's a breakthrough of some type, and that ups the capability, and then it kind of plateaus. And then there's another breakthrough, and then that sets a new level. And that's why recently we've seen a breakthrough. These large language models and that particular architecture is one of many architectures for AI systems, is very effective, it seems, with very large models that have I think GPT-4 now has 500 billion nodes. So it turns out that when you create something at that scale with that architecture, there's emergent behavior that wasn't expected. It actually becomes intelligent in some ways, which was not predicted, and it's not fully understood, actually. So that's why we saw this sudden jump. And the question, which is often for people who study this, there's a Stanford professor who's written a book about this, it's called The Control Problem, is can AI get away from us? And it's a very legitimate question. And today it's not away from us, but we have to look forward. Imagine AI agents that aren't just responding, but are that acting autonomously. Do we really know what they're doing? And might they develop agendas, kind of like there was a movie in the 1950s called The Forbin Project, where exactly that happened. And I think there have been 100 movies since then about exactly the same thing. So it's a legitimate question. Is it possible it might get away from us? But that we're not going to talk about that today. And there are some hopeful signs that because really it needs to be solved by government, because in order to really address the control problem, it requires that it be addressed everywhere, because otherwise you have the possibility that someone else can get ahead of you, get capability that you don't have. So it really has to be a universal agreement. We've had universal agreements, like the ozone layer. There was a seminal agreement, I think it was during the 80s, and the whole world agreed to do something about fluorocarbons. So it's possible. So, I'm hopeful about it. But let's get practical. AI is here today. These large language models are very effective for some things. And so that creates business opportunity. And we can't run away from that. There's no putting that genie back in the bottle. So what does that look like? Well, there's a Wall Street Journal article very recently where they constructed several questions that to ask people about what they would think. So these are kind of thought-provoking questions to make us kind of realize how much of a game changer this is. One of them, and there was a large number, 20 or something questions. We have 4 of them here just to kind of give a taste. One of the questions was, should people have the right to know when AI is used to make a decision that affects them, such as mortgage evaluations or any kind of credit evaluation or any evaluation of you as a customer? In other words, do you feel comfortable if AI agents are being used to make assessments about you? Should anyone rejected by an AI have the right to challenge the decision and receive a reevaluation by humans? That's a legitimate question. And we're not going to delve into what the answer might be here. It's just something to think about. And for companies that are using AI, they might need to answer that question because their customers might have that question. Another one is, should content creators block AI from crawling their sites and learning from their work? That's been a very big issue in the artistic community with AI being able to write articles based on what it's learned from other authors and create artwork based on what it's learned from other artwork. So in a sense, it's copying, and yet all art is copy. I mean, that's what art is. Art is copying and refining and adjusting and combining and then having some of your own things. But these are not people, so who gets credit and and plus it can be done automatically at scale. Instead of taking days to create a piece of art, it might take seconds. So this is a game changer. And what do we think the right answer is there? Another question is, how do you draw the ethical line for using a chatbot like ChatGPT? Would it be okay for writing an email to schedule a meeting? In other words, tell ChatGPT, write an email for me. Or even better, imagine you go in a Zoom session and there are 3 avatars powered by ChatGPT from different parts of the organization. And they're taking notes. And then after the meeting, they're going to send their own emails and create their own documents and maybe even run their own projects. How do you feel about that? What about a sales pitch to a client? So, okay, ChatGPT or bot, go ahead, create a sales pitch for our client. A conversation in an online, let's say, or dating app, that's their question, but there are other kinds. A letter to a friend going through depression. Would you feel confident it could do that well? It's currently possible to copyright the output of an AI. It isn't currently possible, I should say. There actually was a court case about this not too long ago, and that's why they now say it isn't currently. And I think this is U.S. context. If so, who should own the copyright? Should the user, the AI provider, the people whose material trained the AI, and so on? Important question. And if companies are using AI to create things, is it copyrightable or not? Is that intellectual property, or is it, not intellectual property? Important question to think about. We don't know the answer. So companies using this need to consider these questions and maybe come up with their own answers. So here's an example. This comes from a website of a very clever fellow who put together examples of what some of this technology can do. And this just shows that you can actually, it can do these things, where you tell it to create a loan agreement with certain parameters and it drafts one, or give it a picture of your refrigerator and say, what should I make for dinner? And it will tell you and give you the recipe and based on your ingredients, and it can recognize what's in that picture. So ChatGPT, summarize this page, and give it a web page or a whole document, and it creates a short summary for you. And it's actually accurate. And there's been a lot in the news about, it gives incorrect results. Well, it's actually pretty easy if you give it the context. Say, don't give me incorrect results. Don't guess. I only want to know what you actually know. And that's pretty effective, it turns out. So depending on how you use it, you actually can get more reliable output. And Microsoft, which has invested about $10 billion into OpenAI, the company that made ChatGPT or the GPT model, which there are a lot of other similar models, but that one seems to like really be effective. They are embedding it now in all of their products. And so we can now look forward to, I actually tried to upgrade my own, I have a Mac, and I tried to upgrade my own Office 365 to see if this is available, but I'm 2 operating systems behind the current one, so it wouldn't let me. So I try it on yours to see if it's actually available. If their documentation seems to say it is. But in any case, they're adding Chat GPT to their products in a way where you can do things like this. So you can, like, it's called Copilot, and you're in Microsoft Word or in PowerPoint or something, and it's the Copilot's on the side. It's like a chat bar, and you can ask it, which products were most profitable last quarter, and guess what? It goes through your Microsoft OneDrive and comes up with what it thinks the answer is. And you can, if you're in PowerPoint, you can actually tell it, make me a presentation that helps celebrate my daughter's school graduation, blah, 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 and give it parameters, and it will come up with a whole thing, just like that. And then you can fine tune it, but the way you fine tune it, you can edit it directly if you want, but you can also see the chat bar on the right. You can tell it to make changes. Say, I kind of like that, but change this part. And it just does it. It's like talking to a person. So you literally don't have to do anything with the PowerPoint tools. You just tell it what you want and tell it what changes to make, and it makes them. It's almost like having an assistant just doing that. So imagine other kinds of products and other kinds of tools that we have now. Imagine graphics tools, imagine business tools, CRM tools, with a similar model where people don't have to do things. They tell the assistant to do them, and they watch and they look at the result. This is going to impact everything. And the thing is, the more it knows about you, the more it can do. So Microsoft's strategy is to leverage OneDrive, that most people who use Teams and PowerPoint, all those tools, and they usually have OneDrive, which is their cloud, Microsoft's cloud. And if it has access to that, it can learn all about your stuff. And then it has the context. It has the context, and that's what makes it really effective. So things are changing. We're not in the beginning days of AI, but we are in the beginning of days of AI that actually works. And the arc is still steep. This is just the beginning of this. From where we're starting now, this is just the beginning. And so it's important to think about, what does that mean for this? I think the rest of this decade is going to be extremely disruptive for business, extremely. The impact has not been felt yet. People are still figuring out how this is going to impact their products and so on. And so, going back to, our expertise is organizational agility. We've studied companies, not agile per se necessarily, although there's some good ideas there, but we've studied what actually leads to organizational agility. And in order to be positioned to change quickly and move quickly, the pace is a lot faster than it used to be. Already, there's so many products out using this already. And, it's no longer, oh, let's plan this for a year. And then no, you don't have a year. One thing that's going to happen is, entirely new competitors will appear out of nowhere, offering to solve customers' problems in entirely new ways. Another thing that will happen is current competitors will release AI-powered features that will eclipse older ones. And then in terms of how you and your organization work, the way that you conceive, design, and build and support your products might need to change drastically to stay competitive. Because this is a whole new tool set. We were meeting with a client yesterday, and they already have a whole division focused on this already. It's a technology product company. The jobs that some of your users currently do will begin to vanish. Some jobs are going to go away. We know one of our clients actually, that I don't want to scare people, but they actually drastically downsized their marketing department. I think that probably was a mistake. I don't think we're really there yet, but but anyway, some jobs might go away, and jobs, that some of your customers or users currently do will change a lot. And, so our products need to reflect how people will be working now. They're going to expect to have a bot helping them do things to be highly productive. And what does that look like? And so what should you do? What should you do? And, our model of organizational agility has informed us based on examining highly at companies that have high actual agility. There are three critical components for actual organizational agility. And this has nothing to do with Agile Manifesto or anything. This is actual agility from what we've seen. And one of the key components is knowledge. Basically, people need to know how to use this stuff and how to use it effectively. And so they need to. You need people with expertise in the new technology, and it's quite accessible. But it depends on the degree. You might need some experts too, but you need a lot of people to try things and get fluent and competent with this stuff. And people also need to know ways of organizing work that are very fluid and responsive and collaborative and effective. And so-called lean ideas, DevOps ideas, theory of constraints, flow, all those kinds of idea spaces that are about how to move quickly and how to be adaptable. And also knowledge of leadership techniques. We give and have developed our own leadership training that's very focused on actual agility. And it's informed by the huge amount of research that's been done in the field by others about leadership and what kinds of leadership are effective in different situations. And knowledge of that empowers you to reflect on your own leadership that you're applying. And knowledge of human behavior, from learning about it and also experience. And these second two things, are often taken for granted when people are promoted. They're usually not given proper leadership training, and they really need to be. And they usually have limited knowledge of human behavior, and that's a big gap. And that's a big problem in an organization that needs to move quickly, because the ability to move quickly is behavioral. It's not about structure, org structure, and all that stuff. It's about how people interact. And if you're don't have a high EQ with regard to behavior and how to lead people and generate conversations and reach quick decisions and encourage people and bring the best out in them, you're not going to be able to respond well quickly. And, behavior, the previous one was knowledge, because you need to know kind of the theory, but you also actually need to practice it. You need experience and reflection and wisdom about it. And so actually one of our clients, a major component of their transformation is a mentorship model, how to teach people to be good mentors. Because you want people to move quickly and be able to pivot quickly. You want people to be able to respond well to change. It's a new situation. It's like ChatGPT, that's a new situation. And, how they react, when there's new information about something or new situation, how they react to criticism, and how they change what they're doing. If they realize what they're doing is not going to work, how do they react to that? How well do they pivot? Do they bring in other people and say, what should we do? Or do they kind of shut down and become defensive? How do they behave? It's entirely behavioral. And then the culture is really the embedding of those knowledge and behavioral patterns. You know, in terms of becoming, as an organization, how we do things, and what's expected in terms of how people behave, and what's expected in terms of what they know. And leaders set those expectations, and they also need to demonstrate the behavior so that it's clear, it's authentic, that it applies to everybody. So, you know, but what should you do? You know, let's, you know, this is, you know, maybe you agree with all of this. And so, but now what? You know, and what organizations need to do is they need to look at their strategies and assess, you know, which might be affected by all this change. But even more importantly, they need to look at the behaviors, the norms that predominate within their organization. What kinds of leadership tend to get empowered and promoted and recognized, and how do leaders tend to behave? And, you know, what are the norms? You know, what is the shared knowledge of how we do things? What are the, because in order to make the organization one that is nimble and that reacts quickly well, because quickly and not well also doesn't work. You need to react quickly well, make fast decisions, but good ones. That's the key. You know, anyone can go fast and be reckless. You know, and so how can you be effective at being able to pivot quickly and create the behaviors that make that possible? It is possible to shift behaviors. We know from experience. So those are really the things to focus on in creating agility for this, clearly what's the new era. This is our leadership team. And so I guess, you know, we'd like to open up for any questions.